we have a lot of info for you guys to fit into an hour. There's likely a lot on both of our slides that we won't necessarily go into detail on, but if you have any questions, feel free to stop us. We will send out the recording, which will have the slides in it. So anything we don't dive deep into, feel free to ask questions afterwards too. But Adam knows me. Heather, we've never met, but I'm Jenn Hartt, and Jenn and I met because everyone kept saying that the two Jens needed to meet so that we could do work together. So we finally met up late last year. It must have been December, Jen, was it? It was, yeah. We finally met up and everybody was right. And we have a very similar approach to social media. I concentrate more on content creation and Jen concentrates on ads. So it's also very complementary for us to work together. So we're going to throw a lot of information at you today. Um, but you will get the recording, so don't be overwhelmed. A little bit about me. I was born in Maine, grew up in Texas, moved back to Maine, and now I've been in Colorado for 6 years, which is crazy. So I call myself a bit of a mutt because I'm not sure where home is in Colorado right now, but I have a BA in English and then I have an MBA with a concentration in corporate social responsibility. So a lot of the work that I do this year, I'm moving more into the nonprofit space and basically anyone that has a heart-led business that's trying to make a difference in this world. That's who I want to work with. And I say that I help entrepreneurs take their big ideas and make them a reality. And that's through coaching, social media management, newsletters, websites, and systems. So a little bit of everything. I actually started out as a VA in 2018 and then rebranded as a creative strategist in 2022. My cat is desperate for attention today, Phoebe, and she keeps rubbing on my computer screen. So let me know if anything weird happens. Luckily, my computer is not touchscreen. I live with my husband, our daughter, our 5 cats, and 2 dogs in Monument right now, but I am moving to Colorado Springs in 2 days, actually. Jen, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, if I can unmute myself. Hello, I am Jen as well. So I started my foray into social media, just having my own personal accounts. I think I had a Facebook when they very first, opened up where you had to have an EDU email address to even get a Facebook. Not very many people remember that. So I'm dating myself there. But always loved it for personal use. I had kids really young, so I was at home by myself. And so MySpace and Facebook and all of this was my connection to the world for many years. So over time, I kind of learned to adapt to the business side of Facebook and Meta and TikTok and all the things and thought, hey, I could help people with this. So that's how I got into social media. I've done all different areas and this last year I've landed on focusing with ads because it's the perfect combination of creative and analytical. So I get to have a little bit of both, have a little bit more control over who sees what, and it's just really fun to see what creative grabs attention and what it does for conversion for business. I think we've noticed that organic traffic is really hard right now, so ads have become a little bit more of a necessity in this season. So personally, I'm a mom to 6. It is as chaotic as it sounds. I run my business, but it gives me the flexibility to be able to do so. I have my oldest is 18, my youngest is 2, so they all help out and we make it work. But I'm in Monument as well. We moved here about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, for my husband's job at the Space Force Base. So I'm loving it here. Finally, after 4 years integrating into the community, and I'm so excited to teach you guys about ads today.
All right. First, we're going to talk about stats and updates. I'm going to go over all the major platforms and give you my disclaimers of how I think we use this data as small business owners. But if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Jen, feel free to interrupt me if you have things to add. I do like to give this little disclaimer that I'm going to talk about what the data says is the best time to post on some of these platforms. That does not actually mean it's necessarily the best time to post for you. And the example I'll give, I worked as the marketing director for a mortgage office for 5 years, and he always posted very early in the morning, 5, 6 a.m. I am not a morning person. I am a night owl. So his social media posts were very early or in the evening if I was posting for him. We didn't really post during the day. So for about a month, we decided to experiment and start posting at these best times to post, and everything flopped. There was no reach, there was no engagement, there was nothing because the algorithms learn from what you do. So I'm going to give you this data. So if there's platforms you're not already active on, maybe it's a starting place. But I always say the best time to post on social media is whenever you're going to consistently do it. And it's that simple because the algorithm will adjust and always give it 60 or 90 days before saying, oh, this doesn't work and throwing it out the window. So, all right, this data is from last fall. They have not updated it for end of 24 yet, but what, love it or hate it, Facebook is still the most used social media platform in the world. I am surprised YouTube hasn't taken over with the concentration on short form video, especially, but Facebook dominates in India, and that's where a lot of these numbers come from. So Facebook dominates in the US and globally. I always say I am a social media manager, but I hate Meta, and you will hear me say that. I think it's a necessary evil if you want to have a social media presence. That being said, you can build a business without social media. We're not going to talk about newsletter marketing today, but if anybody ever wants to talk about it, I think newsletters are a great way to build your business and communicate with your audience. All right. I always love to share the amount of time we spend on these platforms. So even though has the most users, it is not the top when it comes to how much time we spend on it. If you're a TikTok user, this probably does not surprise you. 53.8 minutes is how much the average user of TikTok uses per day. So it's really funny because this number has only grown, but even when TikTok became really big in 2020, people were spending close to an hour sitting watching. I think at that point videos could only be a minute. So they're sitting and you're not watching the whole video, right? So 53.8 minutes people are spending on TikTok still. And I will talk about this more later. We don't know what's happening with TikTok. There have clearly been some big changes behind the scenes since we lost TikTok for 14 hours. Um, I don't know what's going to happen there. Nobody knows.
We call that doom scrolling.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Um, I have trained my TikTok to pretty much be about books and pets and some entrepreneurship stuff. And so I'm a big Fourth Wing fan. And so
Oh,
it's full of Onyx Storm right now. Literally, my whole TikTok is just Onyx Storm theories. So I absolutely spend an hour a day looking through Onyx Storm theories. Twitter's the one that honestly surprises me. 34.1 minutes. That's a long time to sit and look at Twitter. And then Snapchat. I don't use Snapchat for business. I am always amazed by the people who can and do. I know a couple realtors that are like kill it with Snapchat because of the map capabilities. That is not something that I know anything about, to be honest. All right. Very quickly, best times to post on Facebook is Wednesday between 9 and 3 local time. So all the times that I mentioned will be local time for you. The highest engagement is typically on weekdays. Weekends have lower engagement as always. That has not changed. During COVID, things were a little nuts that everybody was on their phones 24/7. So it's taken us a few years to recover from that, but these numbers are very typical to what we saw before COVID too. After 8 p.m. and before 5 a.m., typically have the least engagement. I can tell you right now, though, again, I am a night owl, and my posts at 8, 9, 10 o'clock will get better engagement than if I post at like 6 a.m. because the world is like, what the hell is Jen doing up at 6 a.m.? Like, what has happened? So, be consistent. Whatever works for you, stick with it. A lot of the updates when it comes to Facebook are AI based. These updates all happened last fall. We haven't seen a lot of Facebook specific updates for 2025 yet. It seems like they're concentrating on Instagram and Threads. But the AI integrated comment summaries, sometimes those are really funny. So if the post has a ton of comments on it, AI will try to summarize it for you. You can have up to 5,000 people in a group chat now. That sounds like my personal hell, to be honest. I cannot imagine a group chat with 5,000 people in it. Like the group chats. So if you're in a huge group on Facebook, they have all the different chats. So that's where you'll see those 5,000 person chats. Friendly reminder, you can mute the notifications from Messenger, and I highly suggest it if you find yourself in any of those that you want to stay in, just go in and mute them so that you can choose to read through it. There's been a lot of improvement in groups and community tools. So if you're a group admin, there's a lot more options to personalize how you monitor your groups on Facebook. I skipped over this, but they did bring pokes back last fall. So those of us who have been on Facebook since the .edu days, we remember pokes. So pokes are back for whatever reason they thought we needed it back. There's been more real distribution. You can now get verified as a business on Meta, not just an individual. And they are exploring, this is new this month, so exploring a no edit tag. This is to help artists who are fighting against AI images. So they're exploring a tag option where you'd be able to say it was not edited, not created by AI. I don't know how much I think that matters in the grand scheme of things, but I know it's important to artists to be able to tell if things have been edited or not. Big algorithm update. Views are now their primary metric, and that's Instagram as well. They changed that last year. Why this matters. Constantly I get asked, well, what's the ROI on my social media? What am I going to get from it? If I post 10 times, am I going to get a new client? That's impossible. I think most entrepreneurs know like there's no direct correlation between I post X amount of time, I get X amount of clients. It's just not how it works. This is a total shift. So the focus being on views means that I could post a reel that gets 6,000 views and only one person likes or comments on it. Facebook's going to weigh that more heavily than if I posted a reel that got 50 likes and only 50 views. So they're not as concerned now with engagement as they are views. And I always say that our social media platforms are kind of like an online resume. So let's say somebody's looking for an ad specialist and I tag Jen. They're going to go check out her Instagram and Facebook. They may never comment on anything. They might never like anything, but they're going to count towards that views part of all of this. So this is just leaning more and more towards it being a permanent resume for you that you might not always see a lot of interaction, and that's okay. If people are seeing your posts, that's what we want. That's the know, like, and trust part of it all. All right, Instagram best times to post. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you want. It's pretty much the middle of the day, except Thursday mornings, apparently everyone's tired of working and they're hanging out on Instagram at 9 a.m. These times would all flop for me. But if you are not active on Instagram and you want somewhere to start, this is where I would suggest starting and then adjusting as you go. Sundays have the lowest engagement rate. Depends on what you're posting. If you're posting a recap of this really cool thing you did this weekend and you're posting it on Sunday evening, it's going to perform well. If you're posting a testimonial from a client that's a stagnant post on Sunday evening, it's probably not going to perform well. So consider the type of content you're posting versus the time you're posting it. If I'm on Insta on Sunday night, I want to see the cool stuff that my friends did all weekend. I don't want to see a plug for your business based on a testimonial. So remember, human first on Insta, on Facebook, everywhere. Instagram is where we have seen a lot of updates. It is not lost on me that we saw a lot of these updates when TikTok went down. So I think that was purposeful. Reels are now 3 minutes long. It is about damn time because everywhere else has been longer for so long. So 3 minutes, but do keep in mind most people only watch about 47 seconds of a video max. So I still suggest keeping your reels to pretty short, but you can go up to 3 minutes. So like one of my clients is launching a membership and I am having her record some 3 minute longer informational reels. But if you're looking for those quick engagement type of reels, I would keep them short and snappy. There's the new bio layout. I don't know why they thought we needed this. You can see my name is like shoved up in the corner now instead of having space below my profile picture. They changed the font. It is what it is. The biggest update though is the new grid. And you've been able to post to Instagram with more vertical posts for a long time, but now our grids reflect that for better or for worse. So this is all because of Reels. They're trying to push the short form content. It's almost the exact same size as Reels. You can go through your posts. So say you had some square posts that look atrocious on your grid now. Click on the post, there's a three dots in the corner, and you can click on adjust preview to adjust how it shows up within reason. I honestly would not bother unless it's a pinned post, which are those posts, those two top posts you can see on my profile. I wouldn't bother going through and redoing all those previews. I don't think it's worth the time, only on really essential posts. And if the essential post is old enough, I would probably just go in Canva or whatever and recreate it based on the new grid specs versus messing with that preview. If you have boosted the post, in my experience, Jen, let me know if you've seen anything different. If the post has been boosted, it does not let you change that preview from what I've seen. I get an error message every time.
Yep, that's right. You
Okay,
can't edit those.
which is crazy. But there's a new edit app coming. Meta's very creative in their name. They're calling their edit app Edit. So that's coming soon. It's supposed to have more video editing tools. It'll be interesting to see how much of the TikTok editing comes over into this new edit app. There's trial reels now where you can put out a reel that's not sent out to your following, but it's sent out to the general public for a certain amount of time. Jenna and I talked about this a little bit. I tried it once and it gave me such anxiety that my reel didn't show anywhere for me that I deleted it and reposted it. Have you had any luck, Jen, with the trial reels?
I have posted a few of them just playing around trying. And yes, I did have some luck. The rumor is that they only go to non-followers. So people are using them to, bring in new people to their feed. So when I did a reel that was strictly introductory, it actually did really well. So
Okay. Cool. So yeah, that would definitely be a way to apply it. Is like a reel that I always suggest business owners do is 8 things you don't know, you might not know about me, or if you really knew me, you would know. If you really knew our business, you would know. So maybe something like that would be good to use for the trial reels. You can now schedule DMs in Instagram. I have not used this, but if you are talking with clients a lot through your DMs, this might, instead of responding when you're a night owl and you're up at midnight, you could schedule that DM to be sent in the morning at normal business hours. It is a great practice. Not something I do. My clients get emails from me at all hours, but you can schedule them if you don't want to chance them replying at midnight and getting stuck in a conversation. This has been big news. They have ended their third-party fact checking across all Meta platforms. I will not get political, but I am concerned as to what this is going to look like in the world of social media this year when that third party fact checking going away. And I do think as business owners, it is even more our responsibility to make sure we're putting out accurate information. Whatever you're posting, personal, business, whatever, it is on us to make sure that facts are out there, now more than ever. And highlights are moving to their own dedicated tab. The highlights, mine are not pretty, but my work 2025 reads, those are highlights. They're going to get their own tab down here. So you'll have your grid, your reels, you'll have highlights. It'll be I don't think highlights get that much viewership to begin with, but I think they are going to get less viewership because people are going to have to click somewhere else to find them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It clearly has not rolled out to my profile yet. Does anybody use highlights? Are you guys using highlights on your profiles? Cool. Again, my client launching her membership, we have a whole highlight for her membership. People are lazy. When it comes to social media, that is my number one, like, remember that people are lazy. If they have to click too much, they're not going to click. So that's why like link in bio doesn't work all that well anymore because people are not clicking over to click on a link. That's why like ManyChat has become very popular. Comment membership to get the link or whatever. They say it's to clean up our feeds so that the highlights have their own little dedicated tab, but I think it's going to make highlights even more obsolete than they already are. So if you're not focused on them now, I would kind of wait and see what happens because of that. They are also continuing to roll out 20 slide carousels. This started last August. Uh, and one of my clients just got it yesterday. So it has taken a very long time. So if you manage other people's accounts, your own account, you might still have a 10 slide limit for carousels. Everybody is moving to that 20 though. And carousels are really important, which I'm going to talk about next. So these are some stats of the different kinds of posts on Instagram. Most users post about 15 times per month. That seems really high to me. Most people I know do not post that much. They might post 8 times a month, but average is 15. Keep in mind that includes influencers that are posting like 20 videos in a day, so that does skew some of this data. Videos make up 34% of the content. I'm actually surprised that number isn't higher. These are two major points that I would love for you guys to take away from this. Collaborations and mentions are not being utilized as much as they could. Collaborations are only being used on 1% of posts. Benefits of collaborations. If you saw Jen and my post for this webinar, anytime either one of us posted, we added the other person as a collaborator. That meant if I posted, Jen's people still saw it and vice versa. So you're expanding the net of people that may see your content by adding that collaboration. That being said, use it meaningfully. Don't just add a collaborator to add a collaborator. If you're a podcaster, then make sure you're adding your guests as a collaborator. Sometimes they won't accept it because they don't want your branding on their feed, whatever, but add them because there's a chance that they'll accept it. And if they don't accept it, they're still tagged, which is great too. That's the mentions part. Only 16% of posts globally are using mentions. Again, don't mention people just to mention them. But if you're out and about and you're posting at a local coffee shop, make sure you tag them. If you have a conversation, a great conversation or a great coffee date, make sure you tag them. Stories and posts, make sure you're mentioning and using collabs where you can. This is where things get really interesting. These numbers came out January 1st. So Reels will reach 49% more people than carousels and photos. That's not surprising to me. So your reach is higher, but the engagement is much lower. And I think that's where the doom scrolling Heather mentioned comes into play. People are scrolling like crazy through Reels, but they're not necessarily engaging with them. I will sit here and laugh at a reel that's, some meme from Onyx Storm, and I might send it to a friend, but I rarely will actually like the reel or especially comment. I never comment on strangers' reels, like ever. So the highest engagement we saw on Instagram is carousels. So they only make up 17.27% of posted content, but they have an 8.4% engagement rate. Engagement rates are always really small, so I know 8.4 sounds really low, but it's almost 2% higher than videos, which is significant. So what I suggest with carousels, one, if you can utilize those longer carousels, then absolutely do it. And then think about integrating video into your carousels. So you could have a carousel. I can show you guys examples if we have time, but you could have the first slide be informational. Tell them what you're going to tell them about. The next one could be a video of you. So record a video, throw it into your carousel. Have that be slide number 2. Something to keep in mind, if you put a carousel or if you put a video into a carousel, it can only be a minute long. Learned that the hard way. It cuts it off at a minute. So even though reels are 3 minutes, if you put a video into a carousel, it can only be 60 seconds. But those carousels that integrate both still images and video are getting really high engagement right now because then people can still see and hear you and learn what you look like and how you talk, but they also can get that informational slides too. Put captions on everything too. I think everybody knows that by now, but most people do not actually listen to videos with the sound on, so make sure you're captioning. All right. Any questions about Facebook or Instagram? We good? Cool. All right. Threads. Is everybody on Threads? I love Threads. It's getting a little bit more Facebooky lately, but especially last fall, I always said that Threads was the happiest place on the internet because everyone was just so kind and loving to each other. I posted that I want to write a book this year, and that thread was seen by thousands of people, and I had thousands of strangers commenting on it, cheering for me. And Threads is just a happy, happy place. It launched in 2023, believe it or not. Most people did not start using Threads until last year. You can post up to 500 characters. You can post photos and videos, but I find that those posts do not do as well as posts that have just text. You can cross post from Facebook to Threads. This is supposed to say an X competitor, not a Threads competitor. There were 100 million signups in the first 5 days, which is the largest signup of any social media platform. They did just hit 300 million users in December. So, like I said, people are finding Threads. It's a great way to create community for your business. My type of business, I have not found clients that way, but I've met colleagues that we can then refer business. So creating community there. Um, I know Megs, for instance, has found some podcast guests through using Threads, and her first thread she put like tagged ADHD and it exploded. So use the tags in Threads. You will find your people, but people want to have conversations there, even more so than the other social media platforms. They don't want to be sold to. They want to get to know other people. They did launch their own creator hub. I have not checked that out at all. Honestly, Threads is where my own ADHD comes out, and whatever I'm thinking about, I throw it on Threads. My printer wouldn't work 2 days ago, so I went on Threads and was complaining about it, not expecting anyone to see it, and now I've gotten a ton of responses of suggestions for a new printer. So, it really is what Twitter used to be. Um, and it's a very back and forth conversational. It used to be if you've not set up a Threads profile, it used to be if when you set up Threads, it automatically you had the option to follow everyone that you follow on Instagram. They did discontinue that last month. So now you can specifically choose a different audience for Threads versus Instagram. All right, very quickly, TikTok. None of this is all that surprising, but these are the platforms that people are using to search for things. And TikTok is starting to climb on this list because more and more people are posting like how to change your tire or how to cook chicken or whatever. Very quickly, stats on TikTok. 170 million US users, 7 million small businesses making money. This is why TikTok going down was a very big deal. And it's not just people dancing around and being influencers, it's people selling their products, it's artists selling their products. And I will not go on too much of a soapbox, but TikTok is not just a playground. It is where people are making a living. I saw a lot of users that were very scared that they were going to lose a source of income with TikTok going down. Um, the top age group is 25 to 34, so that is elder Gen Z and younger millennials. We pretty much like kicked a lot of the younger generation off during COVID because we all kind of took over TikTok. And it is 55% female. It has the highest engagement rate across the board of any platform, which again is significant. That all being said, we don't know what's going to happen to TikTok in the next 75 days. So make sure you are utilizing the other platforms. If you're creating short form video, post it on TikTok, but make sure you're posting it at least on Reels on both Facebook and Instagram, but also YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is one that is often looked over. A friend of mine has a pottery business and also is a website designer, and she has said her quirky pottery design stuff is killing it on YouTube Shorts. Like the little bit more outlandish stuff is doing really well on YouTube Shorts. TikTok, you can post up to 60-minute videos. I post my entire podcast episodes to TikTok because why not? They get about 50 or 60 views, which is shocking to me, to be honest. You can schedule videos from desktop. So if you have those longer form videos, you can schedule them out through the web browser. All right, we won't go through too much YouTube, but if you're curious about it, there are 50 billion daily views on YouTube Shorts. And this is why I think YouTube Shorts, there's some gold there that people are overlooking because they're just not posting it. Again, 25 to 34-year-olds have taken over YouTube as well. Opposite though, it's 54.3% men. So, whereas TikTok was 55% female, YouTube is basically 55% men. There are a billion hours of content watched every single day on YouTube. A billion. Like, so especially how-to type of stuff, informational stuff. This recording, it will be unlisted, but this will go on YouTube. So I think sometimes we forget about YouTube in our social media strategy, and YouTube Shorts, it's up to 3 minutes now. It was a minute, and that's why I kind of ignored it for a while because it's really hard to get anything across in a minute. But it is up to 3 minutes, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility. Phoebe is back to say hello to you all. All right. Accounts that are using shorts also get 2 times more subscriber growth than those that are not using shorts. Everything updates YouTube wise is all AI. related. Creator app, monetization based on AI, auto dubbing, which is the auto dubbing is terrifying. I don't suggest using it. It tries to auto dub you to another language, and I've seen some really bad mistakes. So remember that AI is great when it works, but make sure that you are only using it to the capabilities that you can make sure it's correct. Yeah, I was clearly very excited that YouTube Shorts are up to 3 minutes now. Who's on LinkedIn? Okay. How much are you on posting, interacting with other people's content? A little bit, Heather says.
I'm consistently inconsistent.
Oh, me too, actually. Yes, very much so. I go through spurts that I'm like, I'm gonna be on LinkedIn, and then I forget about it. Yeah. There's 1 billion users worldwide. Most are 25 to 34. 25 to 34-year-olds are hanging out on all these platforms across the board. 40% of B2B marketers say LinkedIn is their top social platform. There's a lot less politics on LinkedIn. Sometimes it sneaks in, but they are very serious about taking that kind of content down and keeping it business related. Um, this stat I pulled this morning actually, because they just released a new article. LinkedIn shared that users who post twice a week see 5 times more profile views. That's huge. Twice a week. Other platforms, I suggest 3 times a week minimum in order to engage with the algorithms. LinkedIn, twice a week. And then make sure you're spending some time engaging with other people's content. LinkedIn, more heavily than any of the other platforms, I would say, they want to see that you are interacting with other people. So if nothing else, if you're not sure what to post, go in and comment on other people's stuff, repost it with your own thoughts. On Facebook and Instagram, comments should be at least 4 words for them to weigh in the algorithm. LinkedIn is 11 words. They want your comments to be at least 11 words. And I think that's really significant because that shows that LinkedIn is looking for conversations, not just like a cool job, Jen, but like actual thoughts. So 11 words is what the LinkedIn algorithm currently wants to see. These are the LinkedIn stats of best times to post in the US. No surprise, Monday and Tuesday, it's where professionals are. So Monday and Tuesday, they are buckling back into work, getting shit done. By Wednesday, maybe they're a little bit more distracted, as you can see. A lot of time spent in the morning, especially on LinkedIn. So I would again say this is where you start with your posting times and then adjust as necessary. Saturday and Sunday are not the days to post on LinkedIn at all. More AI on LinkedIn. They are starting to push more video. So you will notice when you scroll on your LinkedIn that you will see it kind of looks like Reels on Facebook. You'll see kind of a thread of videos now. For a long time, video kind of was flopping on LinkedIn, but you can see that they're definitely making efforts to push out that content more. If you have a link in your post, they are shrinking the size of your post on the feed. That was never the case. LinkedIn used to not care if you shared links, but they literally have a smaller font size if you share a link in your post now. For better or worse, I mean, I still share links on LinkedIn, but it's just important to know. They are testing out a video tab. LinkedIn newsletters launched last year. So I say if you're doing a newsletter, go ahead and create the newsletter on LinkedIn too to go out to your feed. And then they also released the option for a revolving slideshow. So your cover photo up here can be multiple images that it goes through them like a slideshow. My LinkedIn does not get a lot of love. I haven't updated that banner photo in probably 3 years, so that's something that I might actually go look at doing. It's a great place to put offerings. I have a podcast, so I could put in like looking for podcast guests, that kind of thing too. But clearly, LinkedIn is trying to modernize themselves a little bit. Overall, across all social media, video accounts for 80% of all traffic. So I think carousels are really important on Instagram right now. It's a way to set yourself out from everyone else. But video is where it's at. People want to see your face. They want to know how you talk. They want to see your they want to know that you're an actual human behind your business. I'll talk about this more at the end, but basically what I do is I help entrepreneurs and small businesses take their big ideas and make them a reality through coaching sessions, social media, newsletters, and websites. So if anybody has questions about this first half of the presentation, I would love to chat more afterwards. Does anybody have any questions about all of that? I know it was a lot. Cool. All right. We're going to come back to this. Jen and I have a special offer for you guys at the end. But Jen, I will stop my share so that you can take over and talk about ads.
All right. This is a lot of information as well. So you're definitely going to want to go back and do some looking. Again, this is a little bit more technical, if you will. So, have either of you had any experience with the Meta Business Suite? Okay, so it helps if you've ever actually used the business suite. I have a lot of business owners that's like, oh, there's a business part of Facebook. Yes, so that's where ads live. So you definitely want to get a little bit familiar with the whole suite before you try to run an ad. So that's the first thing. So today we're just going to talk about what it's the importance of ads, creating one. We're going to create one together just so you can kind of see the screens and see where to click and what things mean. I feel like they change the words and what things are called every 6 or so months. And so one thing, that used to be called something is now labeled something else and shows up in a different place than if you have ran ads in the past. And then kind of monitoring and adjusting, and then the end. So what are meta ads? How do they support your organic strategy? So as I mentioned in my introduction, I think people have noticed that just posting organically isn't getting the results that it used to. So a couple of years ago, you'd get a lot more views and a lot more engagement. And it was just, there was less people, there was less competition for that viewership space. So people are noticing, especially for their business posts, that they're just not getting the traction that they used to. So running an ad complements your organic strategy. They don't do well with one without the other. You need to have a pretty good organic strategy going on to support, and vice versa. So when I onboard clients to help them with their ads, I make sure one of the criteria is that they have an organic strategy and they are posting, because you can't just throw up an ad and then stop posting completely. It doesn't work that way. It does make it to where you can post less because the ad will do most of the heavy lifting, but you have to keep posting. So as I said, the reach for organic has gotten limited, so this helps that, and you can't have one without the other. So we're going to make an ad together just so you can see how it looks, the process. So Meta Business Suite, this is for people that haven't set that up. You have to create not only your Meta Business account, but then also an ad account separately too. So the way things are nested here is a little confusing. And if you ever need help with that, I can help you navigate that part. But you must have an ad account before, obviously, you get started. You have to put in your credit card, things like that, and it walks you through. It's gotten a lot more user-friendly to set those things up than it used to be in the past. Key terms to know, I'm not going to go through all of these, but it helps to know, we run an ad, but then what are we trying to get it to do? And what are these numbers? And how do they inform what we place for our ad? So the main ones are, you want to make sure your cost per click stays down, your click-through rate, that means how many people are seeing your ad and then clicking, on whatever link you have. Every ad has a different place where you end up. The amount of reach it gets, impressions and reach are different. So impressions, a lot of people get confused about this. Impressions are the number of times your ad is shown to users. Views are if they interact with your ad. Engagement is obviously if they click or share or comment or all of that. So that's just some of the bigger terms for placing ads. So ad objectives are what you can choose for the goal of your ad to be, the objective of it. So whatever your goal for your business is what is going to inform what you choose for your objective. So there's awareness. So awareness is basically just, especially if you're a newer business to the area, and it's really good for local businesses. If you're wanting to create just some awareness of your brand, so people know that you exist and you're there, and you're not just trying to post organically and get some eyes on your business. So this helps just bring eyes. And then engagement is just what it sounds like, increases your likes, comments, shares, videos, just helps get a little bit more engagement in your content. Traffic, this one's really good if you're wanting to send people to your website. So I tell people, the main goal for your social media as a business owner is that, your social media is where you create awareness and kind of, that top of funnel grab eyes. And then you want to take them through your customer journey and usually to your website, right? Because that's where the conversion happens. That's where they're going to be purchasing something or signing up for something. So traffic's really good for, launches, events, landing, sales pages, that kind of thing. And then obviously leads or sales. So these ones, you can collect emails this way. And that helps drive conversions and actual sales. So we're going to go through and just set one up with just my little test account, just so you can see the screens. And we're going to pick one. So hopefully it'll let me get to there. Make sure you guys can still see it. Jen, can you see the ad account now? Okay, just want to make sure that flips over. So this is what it looks like when you are, I'm trying to move the little share bars right in my way. When you are going to create a campaign, a new campaign in your account. So it's kind of funny that these views have not updated in years, probably. We always joke about Meta Business Suite being so behind the times with, what options are available and how it looks. So it's just interesting that this still looks like this over this much time. So I'm going to bring this down where I can see a little better. All right. So just, how you think, you're going to hit create. And then this is where you're going to choose your objective. And this is nice because you can sort of click through. Sorry, my screen is splitting on me. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So you can kind of go through, and as you hover over them, you can see what they're good for. Oops, I change that. That just always stays auction. So for this one, we're going to just do a traffic ad. Oh no, I don't know why it's giving me trouble. Darn it. Give me just a second. I have 3 screens, so sometimes it'll get between them two. All right, let's start again. Okay. Traffic. And then it'll ask you for your campaign setup. So you can do recommended settings, and this sort of is a preset that Meta decides for you. I don't like to do this because I like to be able to have more control over the options. So I always say, try everything they offer. Their presets and AI is getting a lot better each year. But for now, I still do a manual. That way I have more control over what it looks like. So then it brings you to here. For naming, everyone does this a little bit different. For me, for traffic campaign or your just main campaign, it'll be, I just still put the objective there. And then that way I know that it's a traffic, and you can name it how, like say like we're doing, a launch for something, you can put the launch in there. So that's just totally how you want to do it. It's basically, you want that to be something you can recognize very quickly, so that when you're looking through, because eventually you'll have a whole list, and when you're looking through, you want to be able to grab the one you need quickly. So that just go as a convention based on what helps you. And then I always just leave buying type auction, and then the campaign objective will show here. If you have a special ad category, you'll declare it here. 9 times out of 10, you don't. That's more of like social issues, elections, politics, not for what we're doing here. And A/B testing, I never use Meta's A/B testing. I do this on my own in a different way. But like I said, always good to try these things out when you can. But I just leave that off. And then here's where you can set your budget. So first you're going to decide where you want your traffic to go. So you can send it, like if you're trying to grow your followers on your Instagram profile, you can send traffic there. You can send traffic over to your website. That's, if you're hosting an event or something special over there, or you just want to, show an offer that you have, you can send it over to your website. Here's where you can set your budget. I will talk a little bit about how you set your budget and what informs that in just a little bit, but this is where you can set your budget. You set the date you want it to start, and then end date. Everybody does this a little different. I never set an end date because what has happened in the past to me is an ad will be doing really well and I forget that I have an end date on it and it'll end it. And that kind of takes away your momentum if you have to start over. So I just leave it and I don't go and end it until I am specifically ready to do that. You can increase your budget during specific time periods. That's kind of, I say, pro level ad strategy. Sometimes people will increase their budget during busier traffic times. But for this purpose, I don't mess with that. And then here's where you can set your audience. So I'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but here's where you can decide who sees the ad. And this is nice because you can place an actual address here. You can just type in a city. So like if you're wanting to get local clients, if your business attracts local clients, you can set that Colorado Springs, and then you can decide here, and then the radius of how many miles you want to have from that exact address or that zip code or whatever you want to have there. So that one's nice for location targeting. You can set a minimum age for your product. Sometimes it doesn't matter as long as they're over 18. Kind of just depends on your business and what you're selling. Here's where you can also save these certain audiences. So when you go through and fill in the criteria, you can save them so you don't have to do this every time. So as you get better at making more and more ads, it'll get quicker because you can kind of save your preferences. So Advantage Plus audiences is where Meta kind of chooses your audience automatically. You can put in, the demographics and some suggestions, but Meta does the heavy lifting. This has gotten a lot better over the last few years, especially the last year. And so they say that it does improve in performance, and I think it does. So it depends on your objective. There are some objectives that this does not work well, but for traffic and for the purposes of what we're doing, this is totally fine. So you can use the Advantage Plus options. And then placements. Here, I always use the Advantage Plus placements. There are a few objectives where it doesn't make sense to have all the placements. That's kind of also pro level strategy. But for this purpose, I just let them choose the best placements for what I'm trying to do. So it kind of scans over your ad, looks at your creative, looks at your business, looks at everything you put in there, and then it'll decide your placements. So then you can also see on the right-hand side, it shows the size of your audience, and then your estimated daily results. I have had varying results with these. Sometimes they're pretty close and other times they're way off. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that. I notice it, but it doesn't really make any decisions for me based on what it says there. Yeah, next, and then this is where you put your creative. So this is where you'd put your image or video. I always do manual upload. You can also, make sure you choose the right pages here, your Facebook page, your Instagram page. Those should be automatic. Manual upload. these options that you see for catalog ads, those are for businesses that have products. So sometimes they'll be able to choose out of their catalogs what products, but for service-based businesses, you just kind of put in your own stuff. So you can do videos. Videos, I feel like, do the best. Obviously, like Jen was saying, video is just, that's what people catches people's eyes. People are getting more and more trained to look for video. So it is better. And you can just do like a single image. When I know you've seen sometimes those more, they look, I call them billboard ads, because they do have more sales language. You can kind of tell they're an ad. And then you can also do ones that just look like a post, and they kind of just look like a feed post. And so those are nice because they sort of lower the threshold of skepticism. So I don't know about you, but sometimes when you see that something's sponsored or an ad, you might be tempted to just flip by it. So there's kind of two ways of doing ads, having that billboard, know that it's an actual ad, has that sales language, or ones that fit more into the feed and kind of look like an organic post. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So you kind of just go through, you can decide if you're going to just post an image. It literally walks you through this part. So you'll set up, this is for anything you see like this is for catalog. So if you're not a product-based business, you don't have to worry about that. Here's where you put your primary text. So that's the bulk of what your ad says. So remember when you're creating this, that it's SEO optimized. So you're going to want to put as much keywords as you can. I always opt for a longer copy here, because the more keywords, the better. And the more that the algorithm can understand who needs to see this ad, what it's about, and people can kind of, be more informed about your offer, whatever you're advertising here. So it just kind of depends on the products, but the bulk of your primary text goes here. Short headline, just something really short that captures people's attention. Sometimes you use that to call out your audience. Like if you're talking to, someone local, you'll say, hey, Colorado Springs, or there's varying, ways to do the headline, but this is what people sort of see first. And then obviously your copy and your creative. And then you can choose your call to action. So the book now, contact us, learn more. And that's the button they'll be clicking to go to the next step from the ad. So you get all that in. Here's where you upload your media. I'll just do this testing one for our purposes here today. And then it'll bring up and show you, just to kind of make sure that your creative is fitting in with the parameters. So I have noticed with the new changes to Instagram size, that's also translated to ads. So you just want to make sure that you have that same size you're using for Instagram, the 1080 by 1350. You can change these. You just got to be careful, because it'll cut them off depending on what your creative looks like. So you can kind of go in and choose those. So you just upload that just like a regular picture. And then these are some Advantage Plus creative enhancements. I turn off catalog unless you're a product-based business, obviously. This music is, everybody has kind of their own opinion about the music. So as you know, there's a lot of copyright issues when it comes to using music in advertisement. So it'll give you some options for music. They give you is very limited, and it's not the same as when you create a post. So I turn it off, because I'm always afraid that it's going to have some crazy little music that's not going to go with my ad. So you can decide, you can go through the songs and see if that's something that you want. I always turn off these overlays. Right now, this is a developing technology, and right now it's not great. So it'll add different things over your copy and your creative, and sometimes they can come out looking a little funny. So I just leave that off at all times. Visual touch-ups I leave on. That just touches up your creative and makes it look nicer. So I leave that on. Text improvements I turn off. Same thing. It'll jumble up. It uses an AI to kind of move around your text and give different options. And sometimes it's not what you would hope. So for now, that's just not that great. I leave that off, and then image animation off. So you can test these and kind of see how it works for your own account. But that's after running many, many ads. That's kind of what I've learned as far as, what to use, what works well, what doesn't. You can also choose to add buttons so that they could call you. It'll tell you as you make your changes over here, you can go over to advanced preview and it'll show you all your placements. So what it'll look like in every place you're placing your ad. So it's kind of cool that you do all this work once and it shows up in all these places. So Facebook Reels, and it tells you above which, what it looks like in each placement. So this is nice because this way you can troubleshoot any issues or any sizing problems. And it'll tell you what placements it's not going to show up on. This is pretty typical for this audience network. Rewarded videos doesn't really lend well to ads. And so that one's always like that. So you have all of those in there. Here is where, if you have, I don't know if you've heard of Metapixel. So it's a piece of code you can install on your website, which helps with tracking. So it connects to your ad. So we're able to track what happens, what people are doing and clicking once they leave your ad and land on, in this case, your website. So it helps us just kind of be more informed about what's happening with our ad in regard to the website. So I don't have this set up right now, but what will happen is when you install that piece of code on your website, it'll show up here and you can choose that. And I recommend definitely using that, making sure that's on. It really helps inform your whole strategy. And it's helpful to know what is happening with your ads, what people are doing, what the behavior is. And then for this one, for the naming convention, I always put here what the copy is. So I'll still say traffic, and then this one will be quote. And then sometimes I'll have a couple different types of copy that I'm testing. So maybe this is my red one. So this tells me I can look quickly, oh, this was the red copy. So that helps when you're doing a lot of testing where your campaign's the same, your ad set is the same, but your creative may be a little different. So you might have the same headline, same content, same creative, but like a different picture, or you try it with a video. So that testing thing goes into more pro status. As you learn, you kind of learn how to navigate the testing piece too of ads. So, but just for now, just trying to get one up and learn how to do it. This is perfectly fine to do the one. You'd add your phone number if you were going to do that there. And then you go ahead and hit publish. So that's the basic of what things mean, what they are, and how that works to create an ad. So I'm just going to go over a few little things. If it'll let me get back in here. So for budget, I get a lot of questions about budget. And I think it's a misconception that you have to spend a lot of money to get results with ads, and you really don't. So for those traffic ones, the one that I just showed you, sometimes you can run those for $5 to $10 a day and get some pretty good reach and bring people in. So the general rule of thumb is the more that you're asking of the customer or audience, the higher the cost. So if we're just doing an awareness and all they have to do is see the ad, we can run those for a lot less. And then as we go up the spectrum, if we're asking them to fill out a form or enter their email or sign up for something, those are generally going to cost a little bit more. So for this, also consider your ad duration. A lot of times people that have tried running ads before, they'll come to me and say, Jen, I did this and it just didn't work for me. It didn't do anything. Well, it's hard when we're spending money on something. It's a risk, right? So sometimes they'll have started their ad and it's not performing the way that they hope, and they turn it off within 3 days. And it's hard to know in that quick of time that, if the ad is really working, what's happening. Sometimes you can tell early on, but I always say at least give it 5 to 7 days to do its thing. It also gives Meta more time to figure out who needs to see it. It's gotten really good at figuring out who needs to see the ad. Okay, and choosing your audience. So like we talked about, you can choose an audience that's, near or far away from where your local business is. you can do, I always say to test doing a really broad audience, a lot of people, and then one that's more narrowed down. So it just depends on your target market, and you can target interests. So you can target, it used to be a lot more robust, but now with the advertising laws, you can't target as many interests as you used to be able to go in there and say, I don't know, everyone interested in Martha Stewart. So you kind of figure out the audience that's interested in the same thing as your product or service, and you can use those. There are still some interest, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be. So you really focus on your demographics. You can target, just to women, just to certain age groups. And what I say is I just test every audience and just see how they do depending on the product or service. For choosing creative, like we talked about a little bit, a fun video, I see the ones that do well are, you have to have a really good hook. Hooks still matter in advertising too. So making sure you're bringing someone in with hooks in your text and in your video, keeping your branding consistent. And then also, like I've said a million times now, test all your creative, try one thing, tweak it, try another, and just kind of see what your audience responds to and what people like. And then reading the results. This, I think, is the harder part of all of this. So you have all this data, what does it all mean? So you're going to monitor, you want to have high click-through rates and low cost per click. So you want to, that's how you can tell that your creative is doing well and it's resonating. So you're getting that reach and those impressions, and you see people are engaging with the ad. They're clicking on it, they're commenting on it, they're sharing it. And then sometimes you can take a look at your insights and see like, oh, this one may not be doing so well. And you can make small tweaks. Sometimes it's your headline is not the best hook. Sometimes your creative needs to be switched out. So you kind of learn the more of these you do, what you need to tweak as you go. And you can, while the ad is running, there's things that you can tweak and just republish it. So you're going to keep an eye on ad frequencies. So that's how many times people have seen the ad, and you want to keep that around too. Because when it starts to get higher than that, it's like your audience is small. The same people have seen your ad over and over and over. And obviously they're not going to be engaging with it the second or third time they see it. So that's another thing to just keep in mind. And, the insights, I could do a whole class just on looking at your, and what your results are. So it's really good to, spend some time learning what those all mean as you're, running ads. So bringing it all together, it's not just about spending money. Meta ads are a very powerful tool to get your content and products and services in front of people without having to depend on the algorithm. So you're able to get things out in front of an audience that may normally not see your content. So it's kind of like, the pay to play, and it really is. And ads can really change and support your organic strategy. Like I said, the other thing that's great about running an ad is that you're not having to have so much pressure as a business owner of posting every single day. You have that ad out there doing the heavy lifting, getting in front of people, and doing some of that hard work of bringing new people to your brand or your product or service. But yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. You guys have any questions about all of
I know
that?
that's like
It was a
that's
lot.
like a lot of information in a short time.
We do have a little special for you guys. We are offering a strategy, social media, and ad session for 50% off for attending the webinar, both also those of you listening to the recording. Basically, it gives you an hour of two-on-one time with us to talk about strategy specific for your industry, your business, and the ads that Jen would suggest to complement that strategy. After that, you'll get a one-page PDF, well, at least one page from each of us, going over everything that we went over live on the call, any additional thoughts we have, along with next action steps. This is good through Valentine's Day if you guys are interested. There's a QR code. I'll send it out in the recap as well, but you just use code JENS to get that 50% off on my website. Cool. Well, any questions about social marketing, anything before we wrap up? Sweet. Well, thank you guys for being here. We both appreciate it. We're hoping to offer some regular webinars throughout the year. So stay tuned for that. And if you think of any questions afterwards, please reach out to us. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.